Hello, and welcome back to Connecting Hope. Today, I will be joined by Dr. Chad Allgood of the Division of Early Childhood Care and Development, where we will discuss Elevate, our quality support system that is unique to Mississippi, that helps providers gain credentials and understanding and training in services of how they can meet the needs of children in their community, and it informs and educates parents as to what providers can best meet the needs of their child's developmental role in their home. Dr. Allgood, thank you for joining us once again. In our previous episodes, we've talked a lot about the infrastructure and the needs of the child care providers and the child care payment program itself. But one of the hidden parts that we haven't really focused on with child care in Mississippi are the quality supports. And part of that is the federal requirements that come along with that. But really getting down into the importance of quality support, about 15 months ago, the Division of Early Childhood Care and Development introduced what was called Elevate. And so I want to come back now about 15 months in and talk about Elevate and what it is and also how it helps providers and parents in Mississippi.
Sure. So Elevate, first of all, Elevate is a word.
Yes.
Elevate is a word that describes lifting something to a higher level.
Yes.
And that's exactly what the Elevate program is. It is, and it's not just a single one thing. There are multiple functions going on as part of that program. The whole goal of Elevate is to work with our child care providers all across the state and help them take their program to the next level. And there's several components that go into that. There is an assessment that is part of that, but what's really important is the support, and that's why we have reframed Elevate from what has traditionally been known as rating for quality and shifting to supporting for quality. And so it's an overall program that is comprised of on-site coaching, professional development for teachers and resources. And then, like I said, there is an assessment where we go in and we do assess the programs to look at their strengths and their weaknesses where we can help them, get to that next level.
About a year ago, we talked a little bit about how Elevate was created with input from the providers themselves, but it doesn't just stop there. It's actually going hands-on, on location, and being present. And it's not going in with a clipboard and kind of looking around and making notes on things. But you mentioned it's working with providers. Let's talk about that process, that when one of your team comes or one of the Elevate team comes to support a provider, what that experience might be for a provider.
So when we have a child care provider or program, when they enroll in Elevate, the first thing they do is they get to choose. They can choose if they want to go straight to being assessed or if they want to receive the on-site coaching. We also call that on-site technical assistance. If they choose to do the on-site technical assistance, the first thing that a coach does is they go in and they talk to the director of the program, the person that is responsible for the operations, and they ask, what do you want to see happen? Where do you see the strengths of your program? Where do you see opportunities that we can build on what you're doing well to help you strengthen in other areas? So yes, we did build Elevate with insight from our child care providers and our families because the program is meant to serve them. And as we get into actually what Elevate is, it's all about those partnerships. It's very important that our child care providers are taking the lead with whatever is going on regarding Elevate. If they're not bought into it, if they don't believe that what we're doing is actually going to be helping their programs, Elevate is not going to be successful. And our coach's job, it's not our coach's job to go in and say, you're doing this wrong, you're doing this wrong, you're doing this wrong. It's our coach's job to go in, to talk with the director, talk with the teachers that are in the classrooms and say, how can I help you get better at wherever it is that you think that there's area for improvement.
I love that approach. It's saying that you know what's best in your community, even down to the granular level of what's good within your own classroom, and allowing that provider to seek the assistance to make it stronger and better. Why is that critical and different from maybe other models of quality support?
It's critical because our child care providers told us it was critical.
Yeah.
When we were developing Elevate, we did town hall meetings where I myself, along with other key members of leadership, in our division, we literally went around the state and we had conversations with our child care providers, and we said, okay, what does quality look like to you? What is it that you need us to do to help you, get better, to serve your children and your families better? And they told us, they said it's the training, it's the coaching, it's helping us understand what child development is, how to apply developmental needs into a classroom environment, be that support structure. So that's what we do. We give our child care providers those tools, the knowledge base, the skill set to teach our children, and they take ownership of that. We do not mandate one specific curriculum. There's no one specific way that child care providers need to be teaching children. There has to be adaptability. That's a key foundation of teaching young children, is being adaptable to the different needs of each child in the program. Elevate allows for that adaptability. So there are guidelines, there's a framework for what we think early childhood programs should be doing, but we allow a great amount of flexibility with how they get there.
So when you were creating, you listened, and what's interesting is listening is critical for a teacher to a child, but also your agency lived by example of how we teach children by listening and seeing how they're developing. Where does this Elevate program, where are we starting to see it filling the gaps for not only for providers, but also for parents that are seeking quality child care?
So again, the main thing, the most important thing with Elevate, it's a knowledge transfer. It's helping teachers understand how child develop, and how they can set up activities, things in their classroom that help facilitate that development every single day. So at the granular level, at the center level, we are seeing that teachers are really starting to take notice of what those key pieces of child development are. We've had follow-up meetings after we launched year one, and I've had numerous directors tell me that the coaching that they've received has helped their teachers gain so much insight, and it's been such a positive experience for them. They were really nervous, going into it, but it was actually, it's turned out to be something that has been very, very positive, for their staff, their teachers themselves. And I've even had directors that have said that the assessment itself, when they go in to assess the program, was even a positive experience. Because, again, the way we approach it, it's not to say you're doing these things incorrectly. It's to say, okay, this is just a snapshot of what we see as someone from the outside. These are things that, based on the assessment, and by the way, the assessment tool we use is called the Classroom Assessment Scoring System. We intentionally chose that tool because child care, it's not just child care. It's child care and education. When people think about child care, they think about wiping noses and changing diapers and, chicken nuggets and going out on the playground. But sometimes what people fail to understand is the vast amount of education that is going on every single day. And it starts from the moment that a child wakes up. All we're doing is strengthening that child's day. So, from the time that a child enters the doors of a child care program, the learning is there. We chose class because we want to really emphasize the education part. Our child care folks, they've known how to teach children. They know that what they're doing is education. We want to help other people understand what that looks like, people that are outside of the early childhood spectrum. And that's why we designed Elevate the way that we did. One of our goals was that we wanted people outside the realm of early childhood education to understand what it should look like. We all have a part to play with elevating early childhood education, but folks that don't live in this realm, they don't really know how to help unless they know exactly what they're looking at. So I think, back to your question, at the granular level, we are really seeing an increase of knowledge and skill set with our teachers. But then for our families, we do have a recognition program in the way of badges. And so we want families, when they're searching for child care options, we want them to be able to find those badges, know what those badges mean, and know that those badges translate to a better care and education experience for their child.
And that's one of the things that you've emphasized, is that child care is not just, as you mentioned, changing diapers, wiping noses. It's preparing a child for that future growth, that future success in K-12 education, college, and even as we walked in our previous episode, there was a social and emotional shelf of books at the R&Rs. The R&Rs, the Mississippi Lift Network, as well as Elevate, all working together to create an environment where children thrive and are ready for future growth and development at the K-12 level.
Yes, absolutely.
So you mentioned the badging system, and you think, okay, what does that mean? What is a badging system? And let's integrate a little bit of what people have seen in the episode just before this with our R&R, and how that may also be an important tool for our resource and referral centers to point people to the appropriate child care facility for their family, for their needs in their community.
When you talk about what the badge, you really need to have a discussion about what the badge represents. Yeah. The badge represents a collection of things that have happened. It represents a commitment to quality. It represents that this child care program is making a commitment every single day to educate better, to care better, to do better, for the children and families that they serve. The badges were also specifically chosen. When you think about traditional, accreditation, rating, if you will, a lot of other states used a rating, and some, still do use a rating structure. Like there's a single rating. It's like a number, a gold, silver, bronze. Well, the problem is there's a lot that goes into that. And I mentioned earlier that we have to be adaptable because every child has different needs. Every family has different needs. So instead of just having one single, representation, in Mississippi, we are using a badging structure. And there are a set of badges that represent the different components of the early childhood program. The first one is educational interaction, because that's key. Teachers, no matter what age the child is, have to be interacting with children. So that's the first badge. Then after programs have earned that first badge, we're going to give them the option of earning additional badges. We call them fundamental badges, because we're talking about the fundamentals of child development and what children need, and those are based on age group, infant all the way through preschool, and then we have an after-school badge for our early childhood programs that have after-school programming as well. And again, when parents are looking for child care, they have diverse needs. They have different age children. They may have a child that has special needs. Language may be something that they want to zero in. STEAM, maybe something that they want to focus in on. So when they're searching for child care, they're going to see these various badges on the profile of an early childhood program. And when they see those badges, they know, or we want them to be able to know and trust that this is a program that is dedicated to serving children, and these are the specific things or the specific areas that they have really targeted and are prepared to, to serve those children in those areas.
What are some things and tips maybe you want to give with Elevate now growing and getting into its second and third year, where you're going to see some specialization? What are some tips for parents that are new parents or looking for a child care provider for their family? Maybe give a couple of tips, and then we'll close this segment out.
So a lot of parents, when they're looking for child care, they look in their immediate area, right? Location is very important, location to home or work, because that's primarily how child care was started. It's a workforce support.
Yes.
Working parents need a place that is safe to be able to take their children while they're working. Again, that is a part of it. But parents, my biggest thing is, do a little bit of research on what child development is, on how your child, whatever their age is, what their specific developmental needs are. Look for programs that are going to meet those needs. When you go out, again, you'll see the educational interaction badge. That's the first one. It's orange, by the way. But then also look for those other badges. As we will be rolling those out as we get into year two, because again, those badges, we have we have set specific criteria for each age group and for children that have special needs to earn those badges. So if you see an infant badge, you know that that program has shown and or taken additional steps and shown evidence that they are ready to help infants learn. Infants do learn, by the way. Yes. Shocking, I know, but it is in point of fact the truth. So look for those badges that do match the age of your child. That's key. And then ask questions. When you go in to tour the center, ask questions about how that particular program is prepared, to meet the specific needs of your child.
So I'm a little overwhelmed. I'm going to give you a chance to plug something. I'm a parent. I'm a grandparent that's now got my grandchildren. I'm a little overwhelmed with this choice. Is there anybody I can turn to help me?
Yeah, absolutely. So we do have the Mississippi Lift Network, and part of that is a statewide support system for early childhood. As part of the Mississippi Lift Network, we have what are called resource and referral centers. There was a tour of one that was given earlier. Those resource and referrals, there is a resource component. So if you're a parent, specifically a grandparent, you're overwhelmed, go into one of these centers, you're going to find things that you can check out for your kids. There's places for them to play. If you just need a little mini field trip, the associates there are all incredibly knowledgeable and incredibly kind and ready to welcome families of all shapes, sizes into the program. And then the associate that's there can actually help you find childcare. They get familiar with the childcare programs. A lot of the childcare programs are coming into the resource and referrals, so they're developing relationships with those providers, and they can help you find a situation that's going to work for you. By the way, we have 52 resource and referrals now. That's up from 15, which was about 3 years ago. We did a major expansion because we knew that this was a service that our families and our child care providers needed.
Chad, thank you for joining me on this segment where we talk about Elevate and making informed choices for parents to choose a location for their child to have early childhood care and development. And so we're thankful for your time. Our next episode, we're going to delve deeper into the Mississippi Lift Resource Referral Network, specifically what people will encounter if they come into one of our R&Rs and some of how we can distribute them to services across the state.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.